going on, fellas? It's your main man back on the scene with another video. This young lady popped up in my feed. This is a good video. The video that she's reacting to, all men should watch this video. So let's check this out.
Guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Christine here, and today is another video as part of the reaction series. A video has been brought to my attention. It is titled, "This New Study Makes Women Look So Bad." It's not very often that you hear of a study making women look bad, at least not in the mainstream. So let's see what this video has.
This is true. Anything that shows women in a negative light, they're not going to show that. You know, all this equality, it's all BS. They don't want that. They want leverage. And sometimes I wonder if this is an attempt at population control because the birth rates in Western countries are in the crapper. Let's continue.
To offer.
Okay, this one is brutal. I warn you now, if you're one of those guys who's still attached to your beliefs that women are the fairer sex, more pure, angelic, all that nonsense, this is not a video that you're going to want.
Which is all BS. If you still believe that, you are a sucker. You are a fool. There are teenage women running circles around grown men, finessing them out of their money. Believe that.
Want to watch. We're going to go through the results of a new scientific study that is extremely depressing. So if you're feeling fragile or you don't want your opinions of human nature to sink any lower, I warn you now, click out of this video. Okay, you've stayed. Good man. I like your bravery. I like your courage. Let's get into it. The study is called The Function of Casual Sex Action and Inaction.
Check it out, guys. The function of casual sex, action, and inaction, regret. Do a search and read this stuff.
Regret, a longitudinal investigation. So the paper starts by acknowledging that men and women have different regrets when it comes to sexual opportunities. Women tend to regret having casual short-term sex, whereas men tend to regret passing up opportunities to have that kind of casual sex.
This is true. There's times, I'll see a chick, think, yeah, she seems like she's attractive. And then I don't say anything. And later on, I'm like, damn, I should have said something. I could have hooked up with her. But this is definitely true.
So women have action regret and men have inaction regret. There are evolutionary reasons for that. I've already covered them in previous videos. It's called the sexual strategies theory. Basically, that men and women have such vastly different consequences when it comes to sex that it makes sense that we have different attitudes about it. Namely that because men can have sex and then just sort of leave, doesn't matter if he gets her pregnant, whereas women are actually stuck, carrying the child for 9 months and then they've got to raise him. It makes sense that women are a little bit more reserved about casual sex encounters, whereas men are a lot more casual about it. That's not what this study is about, though. It's about the function of regret after a casual sex encounter. How much our feelings of regret are going to impact our future choices. Namely, if a woman has casual sex encounters and then feels a lot of regret, is she likely to make different choices and to do things differently in the future? And I'm telling you now, the results are really damning for women. The study tests a number of hypotheses, so let's go through them. Hypothesis 1B. More action regret at T1 should reduce short-term sex at T2, especially for women. T1 refers to a point in time, and then T2 was 4.5 months later, giving women the chance to reflect upon their choices and to make changes. So
what he's going to get into is going to show you how distorted things have become, how warped everything is.
Seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it? It's basically what anybody would think. If a woman has a lot of regret after casual, short-term sex encounters, then she's naturally going to reduce how many encounters she has at some point in the future. Well, that's what they predicted would happen. So
I thought that was results. I thought that made a lot of sense. Now I'm worried for results.
Feelings of regret cause women to change their behavior to have less casual sex in the future? Let's look at the results. Consequently, more action regret at T1 did not predict change in casual sex behavior. Neither age nor time had any effect on number of recent partners at T2. We neither found support for the hypothesis that action regret at T1 would result in fewer short-term sexual partners at T2.
So what he's about to explain to you is damaged goods. Let's continue. Or DG for short.
Especially for women. In other words, Even though women felt intense regret at their choices to have casual sex at the first point in time, it had no effect on their behavior. They just continued doing what they did before.
It's DG.
Wow. Why is that? What is going wrong in our brains that we're unable to reflect on
DG,
things that
baby.
we have serious regret about?
DG.
Something's not going correctly in the brain there, because surely if you've done something that you then feel bad about, you think to yourself, I didn't like that. What did I do that made me feel like that? Oh, right, yeah, I had
Well, that would be basic logic, which does not apply here, miss.
casual sex, so I'm probably not going to do that again. That's really disappointing. Come on, girls.
And it gets worse. Hypothesis 2. More action regret at T1 should predict entering a long-term relationship at T2, especially for women. Again, it's a pretty straightforward prediction. If a woman feels a lot of regret at being promiscuous and having casual sex at T1,
This is just my quick idea that just popped up from that. Like, maybe it's this fierceness, it's this aggression to like get back
It's all the womanism has distorted women. It's warped everything.
at men. I've said it before, I think women often sleep around because they think that sleeping around for us is the same as sleeping around for men. And it's like, well, I'll show you, and then they just do it more.
Yeah. I don't know why chicks think that I'll show you. No, you just made it easier for somebody to tap that ass. You're not hurting anybody. In a sense. But he's going to get to where it does hurt men at. Let's check this out.
Even though that makes no sense.
then there's an increased likelihood that she's going to change her ways and have long-term relationships and to seek out a committed partnership in T2. Is that what happened? Well, let's look at the results. Contrary to the functional hypothesis, level of casual sex regret at T1 reduced the odds of entering a committed relationship at T2. Do you understand what that's saying? Her feelings of regret correlates with a reduction in the likelihood that she's going to make different choices in the future.
It'd be interesting to know, like, the opposite side of it.
Damaged goods.
So if she's really proud of herself for her casual sex experience, is she then more likely in a relationship and more likely to not do it again? Like, as women, do we just work completely backwards? I want to see that study.
The fact that she feels regret means that it is more likely that she's going to continue to do this. Not less.
I mean, DG, guys. This is nothing but DG.
Hypothesis 3. More action regret at T1 should predict higher quality partners at T2 as measured by short-term mate value, STMV, especially for women, including participants who reported having had new casual sex partners between T1 and T2. So what they're predicting is that the woman who has regrets about her casual sex encounters, in the future, she should be raising her standards for who she has them with. There should be an increase in mate value, higher quality men.
That doesn't happen. That shows you the level of the damage, the distortion of what's going on in the Western countries today.
In the future. All right, let's look at the results. A paired samples t-test showed no overall change in STMV of partners between T1 and T2. Most recent action regret was not associated with changes in perceived partner STMV, and there was no significant sex times action regret interaction effect. I mean, what is there to say? Let's just keep going. One last hypothesis. Hypothesis 4A.
More.
In general, manifest functional regret must predict reduced future regret. And finally, this is the prediction that they actually got correct. Women's scores were significantly reduced between T1 and T2, while men's scores increased marginally. Women reported lower levels of action regret at T2 relative to T1, while men reported more. In layman's terms, women felt less and less regret as time went on. They're still engaging in the exact same behavior.
Damaged. That shows you that once they get on a whole highway, they can't get off. All that stuff, I'm looking for a good man, I want to get married. Don't fall for it. Because she's going to go back the whole highway. From the streets from whence she came, to the streets she shall return. That's what's going to happen. You playing yourself.
Found him a hoe that he lied, but you can't make a hoe a housewife.
Let's continue.
They just feel less bad about it. Scientifically, this study totally stumped the researchers because they got their predictions so wrong, but it left them.
They'll believe their own prejudices played a role in that, that they believe that that whole fairer sex thing, that, you know, women are angelic, like he was saying. I believe they probably interject a little bit of their own personal beliefs in there.
Scratching their heads. They're thinking, well, what is going on here? If the function of regret is not to inspire better choices in the future, then why do we have that feeling? I want to read my favorite quote from the study. The conclusion that negative emotions do not necessarily motivate a change in sexual strategy might be considered more robust. However, that begs the question of why regret exists. They don't actually know. Like at this stage, we're not sure why people feel sexual regret, since there seems to be no correlation with changes in future behavior. But to me, that's exciting. You know, that's science. This was published early this year, and we've kind of reached the edge of our knowledge. Evolutionary psychologists at this stage don't know what the purpose of those feelings of regret is. So why do women feel this regret? What is the evolutionary purpose of it? Now, personally, I have my own theories, which I'm not going to get into in this video, but if
No, I want to hear. Tell me your theories.
you have your own questions about it, just hit me up on Hey Hero. I'll send you a personalized video in response. But with this whole thing, I think it's important to admit where our knowledge actually ends. That's what good science is. So we don't know the answer. We need to do more research. And this study ends by making suggestions for a bunch more research studies that need to be conducted in this area. And if this is something that interests you guys, I'll keep you updated as the science continues to evolve and progress. I'll let you know what we find out. But there is one aspect to this.
Yeah, I want to check him out. I definitely want to check him out. So you saw his page. Go check him out. Give him some love. Keep up on the game. This science stuff. You know what really gets me with this stuff? All the stuff we used to make jokes about back in the day. In today's world, we have data to show you that it's true.
Research that I think is really, really important to talk about because I found it so significant. Let me read a line. Another explanation may be that modern mating scene is evolutionarily mismatched. That is so funny to me that you can actually find a line like that written into a scientific paper, that they're evolutionary mismatched. If that doesn't make sense to you, let me just explain the implications of what they've just said. What they're saying is that it's possible that they were actually correct in their predictions, that evolutionarily
I think so. This is what I was saying about something has gone seriously wrong in women's brains. What is that? Is it because we're all on the pill? Go check out my episode on that, by the way, in my Debunking the Lunacy series, where I'll be talking about side effects of the pill. Is that it? Is it because our hormones?
Yeah, the pill does change them, man. It's shit has to deal with. We were in heavenly bliss till she got on the pill. Once she got on the pill, it was like I had to fight the devil and the Borg at the same time. Man. It was just pure war.
Are off because most women are on some form of contraception? Is it because of the way we're taught about sex in schools? Is it because of this culture of promiscuity being promoted and we're told that sex is the same for us as it is for men when it's absolutely not? This statement makes a lot of sense. I think the regret is there because it does what regret is supposed to do. It gives you a negative feeling, and that's supposed to raise your awareness to think, well, I need to do.
Because they're DG, baby. DG, damaged good. Womanism and the internet or social media has completely distorted the women.
Something to ensure that I'm not going to feel that negative feeling again.
Of sexual regret is so that women can make better choices in the future. But they're saying that the modern mating scene, all the dating that you see in the world today, it's so far removed from what is natural to humans and how we evolved. We can't
see these people that did the study, they're behind us because we've been saying this stuff, that the social media and womanism distorted the women. And they're just late to the game. Again, like I said, I think their own personal beliefs prevented them from looking into that earlier. Let's continue.
Can't find accurate data about what the evolutionary purpose is. In other words, the culture has gone so far away from what's natural that the data has been compromised. I have been saying that on this channel for years, that the modern dating scene is totally bizarre. It's so messed up. It's so far from what's natural.
Agreed.
The cultural indoctrination in the West, when it comes to dating and hypergamy and women's preferences, is so far removed from how we evolved that we don't even know what it means to actually feel our own feelings when it comes to this stuff anymore.
This is what I tell guys, man. Get off those apps and deal with people in the real world. I noticed something with like the younger people in my family. Like they don't know how to interact. They're so wrapped up on their phones and video games. They don't know how to interact. When I was a kid, with your toys, you had to go to your friend's house or they had to come to your house to play with you and your toy. But now, all they have to do is just get on their phone. And there's no interaction, no face-to-face interaction. It's not good.
They're saying that women naturally should be more reserved. They should be less promiscuous. They should be more concerned about the consequences of sex. They should be worried about getting pregnant. But
this is why I say that with the distortion, we're not dealing with, these guys, oh, it's female nature. Oh, passport bros, you're trying to escape. No, it's not. You're not trying to escape female nature. You're trying to get away from the shitty culture that exists in the West. That's what you're not getting in those other countries. Not that, the women, they can't be tricks and hoes and all that. They can't be, but they don't have the culture of it. That's not the culture. Like you're dealing with a girl here, let's say she didn't sleep around, but she's hanging around, the women in her family, they're all in her ear. You only had sex with one man, They are trying to entice her to sleep around. And some of them, they listen to it. I know plenty of people, their relationships were destroyed because their ladies' girlfriends were in her ear, ruining their relationships.
that's not what the data is showing. But that's not because evolutionarily those instincts are not present. It's because the cultural indoctrination with women is just so
It is.
so deep, it's so all pervasive that we can't even access that. Women are out of touch with what's natural to them. It is not natural
Exactly. This is what I'm talking about. Female nature is distorted in the West. It's been perverted.
for women to be as promiscuous as they currently are in Western culture. That's not natural, but there's such strong cultural conditioning telling women that it's
There it is.
empowering to sleep around and that chaste women
Yeah. like the lady was saying before, like, I'll show you, I can sleep with a whole bunch of men. That don't hurt, man. That helps, man.
mistaking themselves for meaningful relationships. They're just giving in to male standards. They're the victims
They're oppressed. Poor oppressed women who don't open their legs for everyone.
of toxic patriarchy. If you want to be a strong, independent woman, you've got to sleep around. Also, the female instinct of
That's what I'm talking about. They perverted female nature.
hypergamy has just gone completely haywire because the environmental conditions we find ourselves in are just so far removed from how we evolved. Like, hypergamy made sense when we were living in small tribes, small communities, occupying a couple of caves. Yeah, it makes sense to just mate with the highest quality men because that's what's going to be best for your genes. But we don't live in small communities anymore. We live in cities and big countries. And through social media, we're connected all the time. And so women are exposed on a daily basis to these top, high quality men. And it completely distorts their perception of what's
There it is. It's just not realistic.
possible. They think, even regular, average women, think they've got a chance with some top, high quality status man.
Yeah, you got a chance to get smashed and pumped and dumped. That's about it.
And it means that their standards and expectations for the kind of men that they date, it's really, really high. And it results
Men will still sleep with these women, and women mistake a man sleeping with them with interest for a long term relationship. So
That is a mistake because any dude will smash. Even the best looking dude will sleep with a porker every now and then because it's an easy lay. That doesn't mean that you're a hot chick or your status has been raised. It just means he just want to tap that ass.
they kind of fool themselves into thinking like, oh wow, I posted my tits all over Instagram and he wants to sleep with me, so of course I stand a chance. It's like, no, you posted boobs. Men like boobs. Of course he's going to sleep with you.
And exactly what we've found, that long-term relationships and commitment is getting more and more rare. Singledom is on the huge increase, and casual sex, for women at least, is on the huge increase. It's not on the increase for men as a whole. It's on the increase for that small demographic of men at the very top of the pile, but the average man is actually seeing a decrease. None of this is natural.
And I'm going to end it right there. See, none of this stuff, this is why passport bros exist. What we're dealing with in the West is not natural. This is cultural. These are cultural issues that when you go to other countries, not all countries have this issue that we have here. That's why it makes sense. But I do say that if you're going to leave the country, make sure your game is tight. Whatever flaws you have, you're not going to lose those flaws when you change your geographic location. They're going to follow you. So make sure your game is tight. But passport bros is the answer to this problem. Leave. Why are you dealing with these chicks, man? These are DG. You can't fix this. You can't marry this. What you see is what you get.
What you see is what you get. It's what you get.
It's a done deal. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Drop a comment below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you fellas in the next video.